What's up YouTube and welcome to a new video. Now as you can tell from the intro, this video is a little bit different than most of my videos. I am still going to show you an in-depth analysis of the 599 market, but in a slightly different way. So if you own one or are looking to purchase one, then I would definitely stick around. The market is namely very difficult to analyze. What remains the same though is the top-down approach which I will take. First I will show you how the 599 market relates to the F12 market and also some general market numbers. For example, I will show you what the premium is for the cars which have the HGTE package. After that we will have a look at the depreciation numbers, and also here I will make a comparison to the F12. At the end of the video I will show you then how important each aspect, so the model year, the mileage and the spec, is for the price of a 599. I by the way received a ton of requests to analyze this market, and among those were the ones of Anthony, Jeff and KS. And that of course also means that you can request a video. Simply comment the name of the car for which you would like to see an analysis down below in the comment section. Once there are enough requests for a certain car, I will make a video about it. Don't forget then to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get actually notified when your requested analysis goes live. So let's start with the first step. And that means that the 599 and F12 market are appearing now on your screen. You can see immediately that there is quite a significant price difference between the two. An F12 tends to cost around $230,000, while this is $160,000 for a 599. So on average, the premium for an F12 is $60,000. Also, the supply in the 599 market is slightly lower, as there are only 39 cars for sale versus 60 in the F12 market. And as a result of all of those differences, you can see that it isn't really possible to draw one depreciation curve in the graph. At least not one which would make any sense. And this contrasts to the mid-engine models. There you can clearly see some overlap between the generations. And if you want to see how this graph looks like, but then for the mid-engine Ferraris, such as the 360, 430, 458 and 488, then I recommend that you click on the pop-up banner appearing over here. Also, if you want to know more about the F12 market, then I recommend that you click on the pop-up banner coming after this one. I namely made a separate depreciation analysis for that market. We will start to zoom in now at the 599 market, because this is a very interesting market. Check out for example the price variation. Prices start at $90,000 but go up to $200,000. And part of this can be explained by the presence of the HGTE package. And this Handling Gran Turismo Evoluzione package was a package which upgraded the handling of the car and costed you back then around $30,000. So then, at this point I would normally move on to show you the depreciation per year. There is however a little problem in the 599 market which makes this really difficult. Let me show you. You can see now that I inserted the depreciation curves in the graph. And if we look at the depreciation per year for the base version, then we can see that this curve returns a value of $8.3 thousand per year, or 6.2%. And these numbers are quite reasonable. But we can't trust them. There are too few observations for the cars from model year 2019, 2010 and 2011. And the problem is amplified by the fact that the cars from 2019, 10 and 11 all tend to have a mileage which is much lower than the average. Therefore, they are priced higher and the return depreciation number is higher than the actual depreciation. The only comparison what we can make here is between the cars from model year 2007 and 2008. They have a mileage distribution which is somewhat similar. Now based just on those two model years, we would arrive at the depreciation rate of $3.4 thousand per year. But again, we can't put too much weight on this. It might be the case that this price difference is caused by pure chance, but more about that later. Before we continue though, please remember to support the channel by smashing that like button. Thank you. So then, for the 599, I can't really provide you with a reliable depreciation per year estimate. I can however do that for the depreciation per 1000 miles driven. So let's have a look at that. You can see that we have now the mileage on the horizontal axis and the price still on the vertical axis. If we first look at the mileage, then we can see that most cars have a mileage of around 11,000 miles and that there is one car which even has 60,000 miles. Now again, you can see that for the cars which have the HGTE package, the shaded area is extremely large. So the numbers there are unreliable. However, if we look at the cars which don't have this package, then we can see that the shaded area is only large for the high mileage cars. For the cars around 10,000 miles, it seems to be fairly okay. Not great, but okay. And those cars lose on average $1,200 per 1,000 miles driven. And relatively this amounts to 0.94%. And this is a normal score for a car in this age bracket. However, you can see that the cars under 10,000 miles are more sensitive to mileage than the ones above. And this makes sense. A car with a mileage of less than 10,000 miles has one of the best mileages in the market and therefore the potential to become a collector's item. And this becomes really interesting when we compare it to the F12 market. You can see that we have the F12 now in blue and that I removed the one car which had 60,000 miles in the 599 market. Now, on average, the absolute depreciation rate for an F12 is almost twice as high as the one for a 599. Relatively, however, the score is almost identical with 0.96% per 1,000 miles driven. And remember that this was 0.94% for the 599. Furthermore, you can see that for a similar mileage, a high-spec 599 goes for almost the same price as a low-spec F12. Which one would you go for? Let me know in the comments. A high-spec 599 or a low-spec F12? Now then, so far we saw that model year might be relevant for the price of a 599, but if so, only to a very small extent. We also saw that the presence of the HGTE package is quite an important factor and that the mileage is for sure an important factor for the price. But how much exactly do each of these factors contribute to the price? To figure that out, we need to consider all of them at the same time. And that we can do with the graph appearing now on your screen. You can see that this is a 3D plot and that we have the mileage, the model year and the price. Also note that the cars with the HGTE package are displayed in white and the cars which don't have this package in green. Now let's first look around at what we actually have here before I throw some numbers at you. Like we observed before, it is not so clear that there is a relationship between the model year and the price. It is however clear that there is a relationship between the mileage and the price, and that the cars which have the HGTE package go for a premium. Now here we can see all of the elements at the same time, and that has some advantages. If we for example look at the price of around $140,000, then we can see that all of these cars here have more or less the same mileage. They differ however in their model years. In other words, based on this very simple observation, it seems to be the case that model year is indeed not that relevant. And the numbers confirm this to some extent, but not fully. They show that 40% of the price is determined by the mileage and that the remaining part is explained to an equal extent by the model year and the spec. So in essence you're looking at a 40-30-30 split here. And this means that there actually is some truth to the depreciation per year graph which I showed you all the way at the beginning of the video. But like I mentioned, due to the few observations and the spread of the observations, I can't give you a reliable estimate. We can only say that it lays somewhere between $3.4 and $8,300 per year. In any case, you can't forget about the mileage, as this is the main driver, and then of course the spec level, so the presence of the HGTE package, as this is just an important driver for the price as the model year. One thing though which is not included in this analysis are the other options which might be important for the price, such as the presence of the carbon package. The reason that they are not included though is that the data quality for that was simply too bad to take into account here. And with that being said, let's wrap up and conclude. The 599 market proved to be a very difficult market to analyze. Nevertheless, I think that it is clear that the depreciation on these cars is very low. However, if this is an important reason as to why you are considering the purchase of a 599, then you also need to consider that the mileage is a key driver for the price. And this means that if you plan to do a lot of miles with your car, it will affect the value strongly. Now the internet and especially the YouTube comment section often argues that you shouldn't buy such a car if you are afraid to drive it. In reality though, many people consider the miles they put on their exotic cars, and I can't really blame them for it. And with that we arrived at the end of the video. Now if you enjoyed the video, please remember to support the channel by smashing that like button. Also, if you like these kind of analysis but would have liked to see it for a different car, please browse through my channel. There you will find many more depreciation analysis, as I covered for example various 911s, and McLaren. As always, a huge thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next week for a new analysis.